What is up, everybody? What is going on? We are back and we are live again here with episode 4, baby, episode cuatro of the Changavi Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you that are new, for those of you that are off TikTok, welcome in. And I hope you guys enjoy the show. Y'all will kind of get a feel for what it is. If you haven't, go check out my previous shows if you want to get a feel for what the structure is. And yeah, so I don't have much time. I only got 35 minutes and I'm recording this pretty late at night, hence the LED lights. We're Changavi After Dark today. So let's get right into the show, shall we? Okay. How are we feeling today? How are we feeling today? What are Anuj's vibes? Honestly, bro, and I say this because I feel like I say this a lot on this show. I'm doing okay personally. There's not much, really in that department. I'm finishing up my summer quarter here. My couple GE classes are getting it done. Just about to finish my last essay here for English. So that'll be out of the way and we can enjoy a month free of classes for the first time in a year. So I can't wait for that. The second thing that I wanted to talk about that's been on my mind recently as well. As for those of you that know, I started a TikTok for the podcast recently, and it's been going really well. I've had such a good time on it. Like, I feel like I really like the app in general before I really got onto the creative side of it. But now that I'm creating and making clips for TikTok, it's addicting. I have to refrain myself from posting 2 to 3 times a day. But the engagement on TikTok is crazy. And the way your videos can reach and the places your videos can reach on TikTok is crazy, man. It is absolutely crazy where your videos can go on TikTok. I mean, I've been lucky enough to have had videos do super well on TikTok recently. Not super well, like Charlie D'Amelio well, but Anuj well, so it's above our 2 views on a YouTube video type shit. But no, I've been lucky that I've had some really just awesome videos or awesome clips that have done really well. Thanks to my awesome guests who just give me great sound bites, which I can edit and use for clout. So thank you guys. You know who you are if you've been featured on the TikTok. But there's more clips to come on the TikTok, of course. And if you guys want to follow me on TikTok at Essential Question Pod. But yeah, I've been really, really excited just doing that. There's going to be a lot more TikTok specific content coming, which I'm really excited about. I got a lot of stuff in the pipeline, so get ready. I think y'all are gonna enjoy the TikTok Changavi is what we'll call it, the TikTok version of me. So I hope you guys enjoy that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been thinking about recently. That's pretty much been the vibes. Been doing good, ready for summer, quote unquote summer, to finally start, and just over the moon that the TikTok experiment thus far has been working. I will keep you guys updated. If this thing completely falls apart, I will also keep you updated on the rise and fall of my D'Amelio fame. So I hope you guys stay tuned. Again, if you want to follow the TikTok, it's at Essential Question Pod. Go do it. Go follow me for those of you that are into TikTok. And if you want a little bit of this and a little bit of that, TikTok. For those of you that are listening to that, I just did a TikTok dance, so you might want to check out the YouTube edition of this video. Like and subscribe, by the way, if you're on YouTube. Anyway, enough with me. Let's get into the sports topic of the day. A lot of stuff going on in sports recently. The NBA draft happened yesterday. My Warriors picked Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. If you guys happen to be listening, welcome to the Bay Area. The Niners kicked off training camp this week, which is awesome. I always love it when the Niners kick off training camp. Gonna definitely be heading out to Santa Clara in the next few days for a training camp practice myself, so I'm excited for that. But we're not here to talk about NFL. We're not here to talk about the MLB and Chris Bryant coming to the Giants. We're not here to talk about the NBA and the Warriors' recent draft. We're here to talk about the event that's supposed to have the world's attention. It's supposed to be the marquee event of the year. But we still sit here today And I would say maybe about 10% of the people who are watching this right now have even tuned in to an hour of this event, and that's the Olympics. Guys, guys, I remember as a child, okay, the Olympics used to be this huge deal. It used to be huge. I mean, I remember like Athens back in 2004, and the crazy hype surrounding that and just all of the events. And I remember watching, on TV, and it had a different mystique to it. And now that we're here in 2020, maybe it's the fact that I was so young and I was just watching all these crazy sports I could only see once in 4 years. And now in 2020, I've kind of like picked the lanes of the sports that I really like and kind of said, fuck you to the sports I don't. Maybe it's that, but also, dude, I've realized something about the Olympics. It's the worst marketed event in all. It's like the worst fucking marketed event ever. I mean, this Olympics, they had a year to plan for this, right? Because these were supposed to take place last summer. And even last summer, like even during like COVID and shit, or not during COVID, but like right before COVID, when you're supposed to be marketing the hell out of this worldwide athletic competition that's supposed to be your ratings hog, particularly if you're NBC for the summer months, they didn't do shit, man. They barely marketed this event. It was horribly marketed in the months leading up to the Olympics, or so we thought. And then they got canceled and pushed back to this year. So you're expecting at that point, like, okay, NBC, like whatever, COVID stuff was up in the air. You can give them the excuse, but they had almost a year to plan for the marketing of this event. They had almost a year to market the athletes, to like use the faces of Team USA to get people in this country actually invested and interested. I'm curious. I'm actually genuinely curious to know that how many people our age, what I mean by like our age is like Generation Z, are actually into the Olympics right now. Like are actually avidly watching every event. I feel like nobody, man. I feel like the Olympics are so useless. To me, they're so like it's they're not useless, okay? And let me kind of talk a little bit of positives about the Olympics. I think the Olympics are great in that you got you get athletes from all over the world, literally every corner and country or every corner of the world, every country of the world. You get athletes who do the craziest of sports and whose stories otherwise wouldn't be highlighted on the world stage if it weren't for the Olympics, right? That's great. I think this is a great event for the athletes. I think it can actually increase, like Simone Biles wouldn't be shit without the Olympics. That's just a fact, right? Michaela Maroney wouldn't be shit without the Olympics. Ali Raisman, no one would know who these people are, but they know who they are because of the Olympics, because Simone Biles had a crazy 2016 in Rio, right? That's why we know who Simone Biles is. That's why we know who Usain Bolt is because of the Olympics. Michael Phelps, Olympics. Katie Ledecky, Olympics. You get my point. Athletes can make a name for themselves using the Olympics. But for the consumer, what value is there right now, this year in 2021? Every single person that I continue to talk to and I talk to right now says that this Olympics hasn't hit as different as it used to. But did it ever really hit different? Did the Olympics ever hit different? Maybe. I think maybe it could be the loss of, and this was another argument that I made to myself, was maybe it's the loss of Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt and some of the great Olympians that, went and played their last Olympic Games in 2016. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the fact that the Euros just happened in soccer, which felt like a form of the Olympics in a way for European soccer. And so people are kind of exhausted off that and don't really want to see the international stage. Maybe it's that. I feel like there's a lot of things, a lot of variables at play. We're fresh off COVID. I feel like if the Olympics, and this is my theory, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. I feel like if the Olympics were to have happened in 2020, if there was some way that the International Olympic Committee could have found a way to get all the athletes to Tokyo safely and created a bubble where everybody was safe, that would be crazy. I feel like everybody in the world at that point would be watching. We had nothing fucking else to do. Like the NBA bubble, shit. I mean, but that didn't start till like July. And if you put the Olympics in like July, people like NBA athletes would be like, all right, I'm gonna go play for Team USA. I mean, just imagine the hype that would have surrounded it in 2020. I feel like if the Olympics were to have happened in 2020, it would have been the biggest Olympics ever. and it would have been just completely surrounded by a lot of hype. And I feel like people would have actually been focused on it. We're back in 2021. Everything's normal now. And honestly, the Olympics haven't been that good. The quality of events and the coverage of the Olympics. This is the last thing I want to get to before we move on. The coverage of the Olympics has been absolute trash. Okay. NBC and American networks have done a horrible job in covering the Olympics. They jump from event to event randomly. There's the commentators really, honestly, for the most part, besides a very select few that I actually know, don't really know their events that well. The swimming commentators are just yelling the whole time when I was watching today. If I feel like the commentators don't know the events well, I feel like the networks don't know where to go. I feel like the networks are trying to like experiment as to see like what sports are popular with American consumers. It's just a mess. The broadcast is a mess. The whole Olympic setup as of right now here has been a mess thus far, guys. This is not a success by any means for American media. But that's my opinion. I think the coverage is not so good. I think the marketing wasn't great. And I also think the people maybe aren't necessarily as interested because the NFL is kicking off in a month and people are into training camp now. And the MLB is at its peak. MLB August is huge in this country and particularly in the United States. And the NBA just concluded its season right before the Olympics. And so I feel like people need a little bit of a break, particularly between their three major sports leagues. And I don't know. The Olympics aren't hitting that different this year, and maybe they are a waste of time. Or maybe it's mostly on the American TV networks who are covering this event poorly. I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Definitely let me know what you guys think. Are the Olympics good? Are they bad? Should we cancel them? What's the deal? But anyway, I've been talking a little bit of negativity about the Olympics. Let's get into some pop culture stuff, shall we? Speaking of Olympics, I want to talk about a particular Olympian who was knocked out in the third round. No, I'm kidding. But she was an Olympian this year. She did compete in the women's singles tournament in tennis, and she's a name that is known throughout pop culture right now. One of the hotter names, considering the stands that she's taken at both the French Open and Wimbledon, Naomi Osaka. And recently, there was a documentary about Naomi Osaka that dropped on Netflix. And it's called Naomi Osaka. And it was actually executively produced by Maverick Carter and LeBron James. I had no clue until yesterday when I was finishing up the documentary, or the mini-series. I don't know what to call it, mini-series, documentary, whatever it is. I didn't even know that LeBron James is the executive producer of the whole thing. So anyway, it was 3 episodes long, and it basically it covered everything from the 2018 U.S. Open, which was, I believe, the first Grand Slam she won, through this recent Australian Open, or through the 2020 U.S. Open. Sorry, not the Australian Open, because that was the last event that was covered. So none of the mental health stuff in 2021 was even kind of brought up. It wasn't even brought up towards the end. But what I found interesting about the documentary was that there was almost pieces that were laid into place for the documentary, or for the mental health stuff, not the documentary. It was really cool to see because, I mean, there were I feel like now, being in society here in 2021, like knowing what happens to the whole Naomi Osaka story, you're like looking for little clues. And I feel like I was looking for all these subtle hints when it came to Naomi and the mental health stuff. It was like, she would say, like, I need a break. Like, I need some time mentally. And I think that was just stuff that was added in there by the editors, considering like they obviously know what the situation is now and like what people want to see. So I just found it very interesting, like just like little things. It was like very little dialogue. It's like, oh, I need a break. Like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm tired. But I think there was a couple takeaways that I took from this Naomi Osaka documentary, besides those like little editing takes type things. The first is that, damn, bro, the amount of pressure that she is under is crazy. I did not know that she really is the only kind of female representation for women's tennis in Asia, because she is one of the only highly ranked tennis players from Asia, or she's the first world number 1 to ever be from Asia. So like the whole continent of Asia, she's the first woman or man to be the number 1 player in the world from the continent of Asia, which is crazy. considering Asia contains like, I mean, what? I don't know the exact statistic, but what, 50% of the world's population? And they are and like literally like the hopes of tennis like rest on this poor girl's shoulders who's like 23. So I found that really cool. And I mean, not really, I mean, obviously it sucks for her, but I found it like really cool insight to like see like what she's thinking all the time. Like, you know, just how she handles all of that. Like, she has a hella off-court commitments. I mean, that's what I realize is like all the endorsements, the fashion. It really gives you a full picture of an athlete, which is what I think I enjoyed the most throughout the whole miniseries, was that it really gave people a nice picture of like what it's like to be a high-profile athlete like that, and someone who's particularly like just, you know, as big a name as Naomi Osaka is in this world today. The second thing that I really didn't know about her was how close her relationship was to Kobe Bryant. I never knew that she had a really good relationship with Kobe like that. I never knew that they knew each other personally. So they would like text and stuff, and he was a mentor of hers, and it was really cool to like get to hear like that whole story. Of like Kobe and her, and then obviously like the passing and how that affected her. And it was it was just very enlightening for me, as someone who had no idea that those two had a relationship. And it was sad to see, because obviously Kobe is just so beloved amongst all sports fans. So like reliving that moment again always sucks, but getting to see it from her perspective was very, very interesting, and it was very unfiltered, which is what I kind of liked about this miniseries. And I really don't have much negative things to say about it. It's a little slow, and I think if you're not a tennis fan, you aren't necessarily going to enjoy it. But as someone who like has been an avid fan of the sport for like as long as I can remember, this was definitely like worth the watch in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, I think it got released at the exact right time, and I think the marketers did a good job of releasing like the name Naomi Osaka at the time, because it's going to get a lot of hits, but I feel like a lot of people aren't necessarily going to like enjoy this, because I feel like people are expecting she's going to talk about like the mental health stuff and all the stuff that happened this year at the French Open, but the documentary doesn't really focus on that. It focuses a lot on her life, which is I think really cool, and I'm a big fan of. So anyway, if you guys are more into like the athlete side of things rather than like the mental health side of things, I highly recommend that you watch this documentary. I thought it was super worth it, a lot of fun, and definitely like worth a watch. So, I mean, if you're just a sports fan, I think the Naomi Osaka miniseries is definitely worth a watch. But anyway, let's transition to my second topic for pop culture, which has nothing to do with the Olympics or Olympians or sports in general. And I want to make an argument. I know I make a lot of these on this show, and I feel like I get no response from people. So please, if you guys disagree with me, like comment down below, like send it to your friends and talk about how much of an idiot I am. But I'm going to make an argument here, and I'm going to make an argument in regards to South Asian representation. And this is actually an argument that I made in a paper for English class, and I thought I would kind of bring it to the attention of the podcast and put it up for discussion. So let me make this argument real quick. So this is in regards to Never Have I Ever. For those of you that don't know, I've been shoving Never Have I Ever content down your throats for the last week and a half, so I apologize. I promise we are at the end. I recorded the show. I basically exhausted every clip I possibly could on TikTok. So yes, that is, I think we're going to put the Never Have I Ever to rest. And most of you guys know, I mean, who have been watching this regularly, how I feel about Never Have I Ever. I gave a relatively, I felt like, objective and nuanced take on the show. And I gave them some really good improvements, I feel like, that they could use potentially in season 3. And, you know, me being the coach, like, I feel like Coach Changavi could really help them out, you know, with brown representation. But I'm here to say, and I'm here to make this very hot take. And it's not really a hot take, I feel like, because, I mean, this is something that and this is something that has, you know, been in my mind, but also, you know, has been talked about amongst various people that I've interacted with, et cetera, et cetera. Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, and the Harold and Kumar film series in general is a better representation of South Asians than Never Have I Ever is. So I'm going to repeat that again. I think Harold and Kumar is better representation for South Asian Americans than Never Have I Ever has been for 2 seasons. Okay, let that soak in. For those of you that haven't seen Harold and Kumar, highly recommend. Go watch it. I think you guys won't regret it. It's a great movie. It probably would have been canceled if it was made in 2021, but who cares? It was funny. But here's why I say that. And I don't say this because like Harold and Kumar has brown boy representation, so like Anuj just feels more relatable because he saw the man on screen. No, that's not what I mean. Okay. I gave my arguments as to like why I also think there should be more Desi women. I'm in full support of that. Full support. And I'm in full support of the idea of Never Have I Ever. The execution, let's talk about that. I mean, I talked about that in all my other videos. You can go check that out. Here's my argument for Harold and Kumar. Harold and Kumar, particularly with the character of Kumar, takes someone who's literally the opposite of the Indian stereotype. What is the Indian stereotype in American society? High achieving, doctor, doesn't speak much, terrible with talking to women, etc. They literally made Kumar the absolute opposite of that. Low achieving, stoner, unmotivated, can talk to women okay, but he could talk to girls. It's not like a Raj Koothrappali situation, right? But Kumar is one of the, like, and I think it's like history in stoner film clubs. Kumar is one of the best stoners on who's ever been in a movie. And I mean, I think he has so many relatable aspects to him. Like, as someone who is brown and has enjoyed the puff puff from time to time, he admitted it. Oh my God. Anuj. This is Changavi After Dark, baby. The purple lights. This is where all my secrets come out. No. But as someone who has been a part of those experiences, I can firmly say that like Kumar is just like he is kind of like, it's not embracing, but it's like he's doing things and he's experiencing things like smoking weed that like most Indian American boys do. Okay, whether you like it or not. Oh my God, really? Yes, guys, welcome to the club. A lot of Indian American boys smoke weed. It happens. Whatever. It's legal in California. But yeah, I mean, I think, and the airport security scene in Guantanamo Bay is one of the most hilarious things. I feel like that shit is hella relatable. It came out in 2008, the height of like the terrorism fear amongst white people. And that whole thing was like, sir, I'm gonna need you to step aside. Like, that whole exchange is so fucking funny. And it's just something that brown people have to go through every day. Of course, given this particular exchange that goes on in Harold and Kumar is much more dramatized and all of this shit than really anything that happens in real life would ever be, but it's funny. And I think the comedic aspect of the whole thing, like there's also the part where like the white lady is like viewing Kumar and like as like the terrorist, and he's like ha 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 pew, right? Like, I found that scene is hella funny. And like, oh, it's a bong, not a bomb, right? Like it's another iconic line from the movie. And I feel like Harold and Kumar is almost anti-breaking these stereotypes. It's not leaning into the fact that like we're nerds. It's like, no, fuck that. We ain't nerds. We could be stoners too. And it's for Asian people too, because Harold does the same shit. He's a stoner. You know, he's supposed to be this high-achieving accountant, blah, 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 but he's like, fuck that. And he always leans into the fact that he's a stoner. And there's nothing wrong with being a stoner. I mean, and nothing wrong with like putting low-achieving people on as actors and actresses, right? Like, I feel like it's just a varied role. It's a different role for Indian Americans. I feel like the unorthodox roles are what connect to people more. That was what my thesis basically was in my English paper. And the last argument that I want to make as to like why I think Harold and Kumar is just, or like another thing that I want to talk about, particularly with Kumar, is just this whole idea of med school. Like Kumar, like there's this whole subplot in the whole Harold and Kumar series that Kumar is supposed to be going to med school, but he's like denying this. And like the way I argued it was like, I think Kumar just like wants to be low achieving in his life, and his parents want him to be this high achieving, like fit into society, blah, blah, blah. But like Kumar's like, fuck that. I don't want to fit into society. I want to like be low achieving, smoke weed, and just hang out. I don't understand what the problem is with that. I genuinely don't. I mean, if you want to be low achieving and you're going to be happy, like, fuck it. Why not? YOLO. You know, I get it. get why people might be mad, like, oh, you got to be high achieving, you got to be doing things, blah, blah, blah. Like, I get it. I'm not that way. I want to make that very clear. But I understand why people relate to Kumar, because he's just breaking against the norm, which is something that Never Have I Ever doesn't do. And so that's the argument I wanted to make to you guys, that I think Harold and Kumar is a better piece of representation for Asian Americans as well as South Asian Americans than Never Have I Ever has been for South Asian Americans. So that's the piece and the argument I want to make. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Anyway, let's move out of pop culture and into music, into one of the bigger headlines of last week, arguably, when it came to music was, will Kanye drop or will Kanye not? So obviously, Kanye West had that crazy listening party in Atlanta, I think back last Thursday, because it's Friday the 30th. Yeah, technically it's Saturday, because I'm recording this at like midnight, but it's like Saturday the 31st. So he recorded it last Thursday. Or not recorded it, but had the listening party last Thursday. Apparently, the album was supposedly very good, and there were like little snippets that were released via videos and leaks and whatnot. And there was over 70,000 people there, which just proves how big a deal Kanye West even proves to be here in 2021, which is crazy. But I want to talk about my personal relationship with Kanye West. I didn't know who Kanye West was until my brother showed me Graduation, which was kind of one of the first rap albums that I was like, holy crap, like maybe, I'll get into rap. And I feel like it was just one of those, like, just the beats, the drums, the melodies, like everything that like Kanye says in that album. Like, I feel like it's just so good. It's so good. It's my favorite Kanye album of all time. Of course, there's so many Kanye purists who are like, no, actually, it's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasies. The 808s at precisely 3 minutes and 3 seconds on Runaway just spike up at the right moment to create the perfect listening experience, right? Like that's how I feel like when I talk to music critics. They're just so fucking pretentious. Anyway, I like Graduation. It brings back nostalgia. The whole album is filled with bangers. I think it's got like just great like beats. It's got fantastic rhymes, just great bars. Kanye just like, I feel like that was like the last album where I felt like Kanye was having fun, right? Then he like releases like Life of Pablo and like, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, just like more darker themed albums. Like I feel like some of like most of his songs like after Graduation weren't as light and like just like poppy, and it was more so like just hardcore rap shit, which like is cool. And like obviously he had like some more pop stuff like Waves and Life of Pablo and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyway, this is about me and Kanye, not about Kanye. So I fell in love with Kanye the first time I listened to Graduation. Although I pretended to my brother, I was like, the album's okay. I didn't want to like admit to him that I actually liked it. But I loved Graduation. One of my favorite albums to this day. Thanks to my brother. I know he wants to hear this, so I'll give it to him. And then, I went back, listened to Late Registration, College Dropout. Love those albums too. I just love like the 2005 to about 2016 Kanye is great. And then the whole mental health stuff happened. And honestly, I was like always in the boat of like creative genius, like, oh, like it doesn't matter, like blah, blah, blah. But like the more and more I think about it, I feel like the more and more Kanye West needs help, guys. Like just the Twitter episodes, the stuff with his marriage. I feel like there's just so much stuff that's going on right now in Kanye West's life that is just so out of his control that we don't know the half of it. Like, we don't know really what's going on in that man's mind. Like, I feel like in high school, I was always the type who was like, oh, he's a creative genius. Like, I just, anything that he says is gold. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we all thought it was just entertaining at first, right? But, like, I feel like just with some of the stuff he's been tweeting, like, and just, like, the way the last few years have gone, it's just gone from, like, tweeting to, like, genuine concern. And I don't know. I feel like there's still a lot of people in that creative genius boat that I was in, but I feel like I've gone more to like the genuine concern. Like, are you okay? Like, you still make fantastic music. Don't get me wrong. I thought people claimed that Kids See Ghosts is an album of like God. I don't really like that album, to be honest, but I like parts of Ye. I mean, I still think that Kanye's got it. And I'm of course, when he releases like Donda, whenever that may be, God knows, I'll still listen to it and I'll still probably think it's good. And there's probably going to be songs that are really good, but I mean, we'll see, dude. I think Kanye West is just going through personal shit on his own. And I think what sucks about today's media climate is that we can't give people the space that they need to, like, recover from whatever the fuck is going on. And unfortunately, Kanye West is so big and he's so public with his mental health stuff that, like, everyone feels the need to get involved, which is unfortunate. And I personally am just like, okay, like when it comes to Kanye, like I'm gonna stay silent. I'm gonna just like let him do his thing. When he releases music, of course, I'll listen to it and I'll appreciate whatever I like. And if I don't like some stuff, I'll be critical of him. I feel like that's just kind of normal. And I feel like that's where I'm at with Kanye West is like, I was always like creative genius. And like, that's what I cited for an excuse. But I feel like right now, like he just needs just time to like recover and like figure out who he is, like outside of this persona that he's almost created over social media and also like through his like music and through the hype and all of that stuff. So let's see what happens to Kanye West. One of my favorite artists, not one of my favorite people, but one of my favorite artists. And I wish him all the best in terms of mental health. And I want to make this very clear. I do not like support any of his comments that he made or any of that shit. Like, I think that's obviously very messed up, but I think we should acknowledge that Kanye West is going through some mental health stuff. But that's no excuse for some of the stuff that he said. 100%. I'm with that. So yeah. And from Kanye West, hashtag Kanye 2020 to a news and politics topic. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the lack of coverage that's going on. And what I mean by that is that just the lack of coverage and also the lack of interest, I feel like, in news media has been appalling to me. I mean, this is shit that people should be listening to, right? Like when Joe Biden was elected as president after November, like people stopped giving a fuck. Really, like everyone was like, oh, DT, and then the Capitol riots happened, and everyone was like, oh, Donald Trump's finally out. Boom. Like, we don't have to give a shit about politics anymore. Yeah, right? Like, that's what's happening. But in reality, the same issues are fucking going on everywhere you look. I mean, there was an airstrike on Syria that was completely covered up by Joe Biden. Kamala Harris literally was in Guatemala like a month ago telling migrants to not come. Like, how are we going to sit here and fundamentally say that this administration is different than the last one? I mean, of course, without the drama, and Trump has said obviously a lot of crazy stuff, but look at how different this administration is covered compared to the last one. I feel like any little thing Donald Trump did, if Donald Trump like accidentally said like shit in a speech, like Don Lemon would go on an 18-minute rant on CNN about how that was like, contributing to systemic racism and shit, right? Like, but like, just like a tangential rant that made no sense. But if Joe Biden does something, it's like, Joe Biden rescued us from the tyrannical reign that was Donald Trump, right? Like the news media just finds ways to like twist it into their advantage. And also, they just don't talk about him. I feel like we're talking about COVID more, not Biden's president. We're not talking about Joe Biden's actual policies that he's signing into place. Oh, wait. What has he signed into place? What exactly has Joe Biden done in office? I don't fucking know. Do you guys know? What is Joe Biden doing? What is Kamala Harris doing? We need to be more on top of this shit, guys. What the fuck are we doing? As a generation that claims to be for change and for, like, we are Gen Z. We are trying to change the world. We are trying to promote equality. And that's great. And that's awesome. But you also need to be, like, up to date with what's going on. And maybe that's my fault. Maybe that's my genuine fault that I am not keeping track. And so I decided, okay, let me go through some of the headlines that I saw with Joe Biden. So here are the first 5 headlines that showed up when I searched up the name Joe Biden on Google. Joe Concha details 18-wheeler Biden history of lies. The media's silence is deafening. From Fox News. The second headline is AIDS note to Biden. Sir, there's something on your chin. That's from the New York Post. The third one's about Biden and new COVID restrictions. He says, in all probability, there will be new COVID restrictions. There's a CNN article with the same exact title. And the last title is explicit anti-Biden signs in front of man's home, Irk Grapevine neighborhood, from Dallas. Guys, what the fuck? These are the headlines that we're literally seeing about Joe Biden. 2 of them maybe had to do with his actual presidency and what he's saying and what is genuinely going on. The other 2 were like completely useless. I mean, a New York Post headline is one of the main articles of news about Joe Biden right now. That is what we're covering. We're just having fun at this point. Like, this dude is supposed to be the president of the United States. And with Donald Trump, we were covering, if he took one step into the Rose Garden, there would be 18 journalists questioning him why. This is not defending Donald Trump by any means. Like, I'm not defending Trump. All I'm saying is that the double standard that exists in the news media when there's a Democratic president elected versus Donald Trump, and just the covering of literally everything he did, is fucking ridiculous. So media, do better. Give us some actual news that's going on with the Joe Biden administration, and not just like news about COVID, which is obviously important. I think news about COVID is absolutely important, but like, balance the coverage with COVID, like of with the scientific stuff, with what Joe Biden is actually doing and implementing. And I feel like that hasn't been the case. So I would like to see more of that news media. Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, CNN, Rachel Maddow, MSNBC, Fox News, Sean Hannity, do better. Do better, guys. Come on. Okay. And the last topic we're going to talk about here, we got 3 minutes, I believe, to talk about this. So I'm going to go as fast as I can. This has absolutely nothing to do with anything we talked about with the lack of coverage. I want people to leave the Bay Area. I really want people to leave the Bay Area, right? Okay, you might be like asking me like, what the fuck? Like, why? Dude, okay. Here's my thing. The Bay has gotten to the point where it's so expensive. And your boy, has genuine anxieties that he's not going to be able to live anywhere or buy his own house or like live anywhere in the Bay Area without A, like selling myself out and working in tech, or B, like living at home the rest of my life. That's the only ways I'm going to get to live in the Bay Area. As much as I just love living at home. No, but I like I feel like if people are leaving the Bay now, right? Like with this whole like remote working thing, like people are moving, like who work in tech, to all different parts of the country, wherever they're from, blah, blah, blah. That's great. I hope more people leave San Francisco, man. I hope more people leave Oakland, because that's where I want to live. And I hope that by the time and this is just for fun, I hope by the time that I get to a certain age where I'm actually like eligible to buy a house or buy a place of residence, that in Oakland, in San Francisco, there's actually affordable places, but I doubt that'll happen. But here's another thing, though. Like when it comes to real estate, I feel like there's always a bubble. And I feel like it's always like broken down. I mean, my parents don't believe that there's going to be a bubble, like the bubble will never burst. Like I've talked to my dad and he's like, it just keeps going up. It keeps doubling. It keeps doubling. 30 years. It's keep doubling. And I'm like, okay, like, I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, Bay Area real estate prices historically have been up for like 40 years. That's just a fact. But when are they going to go down? They have to go down, right? Like what goes up must come down. Basic economics. Like it has to happen. It's just it has to happen there at some point. Will that point be 100 years from now? I don't think so. Is that point now? I don't think so. I think it's soon though. And I think it's actually relatively sooner than we all think. I think there's going to be a pop of the bubble when it comes to real estate here in the Bay Area. And I think a lot of us who like the Bay, e.g. me, hopefully can benefit off of that. You know, I think that there is going to be a pop at some point. Obviously tech isn't going anywhere, but the flexibility of tech is going somewhere. People don't necessarily have to move to the Silicon Valley anymore. They can work from wherever now. You know, that option is being presented to them, and they can move out of the Bay if they want to. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, if this whole idea of a tech hub goes away and suddenly people like me, Bay Area natives, because of tech, thank you, Dad, get to stay and hopefully can afford a place to live. But I honestly do want people to leave because the Bay Area is getting gentrified, and I feel like the genuine, like, character and, like, place and the diversity and the beauty of the Bay is going with that. And I feel like we're turning into a concrete jungle slowly but surely. And I don't want that to happen because I love my hometown so much. And I want to see the Bay Area succeed and thrive and the real estate bubble pop, because that would make my dreams come true. And I would get to live in the place that I love. And is honestly, I haven't found a place that's better than the Bay. And I'm going to leave it at that, because we're going to end our show at 39 minutes and 35 seconds, which is 35 seconds before the limit of 40 minutes. I did not do that math correctly, but I genuinely do believe in the Bay Area, and I love the Bay so much, and I would love to live here. So I just want to make that very clear to the gods that are listening, and to anybody that's listening that's in charge of real estate prices. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this show of the Changavi Show. I really do want to talk more about like Bay Area real estate prices and like how I feel about the Bay. This was kind of actually a last minute addition of a topic that I added. So I hope you guys enjoyed this topic of like I want people to leave the Bay and me explaining why I want people to leave the Bay. Might do like an additional thoughts on it. I feel like I was rushed, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. This show was obviously like going all over the place. We talked about Harold and Kumar. We talked about Naomi Osaka. We talked about leaving the Bay Area. We talked about like lack of Joe Biden's press coverage. So I hope it was an enjoyable show. I hope you guys learned something maybe along the way. I hope we can keep people accountable. I hope we can continue to have fun with this show. And I hope you guys had fun by me entertaining you late at night with my LED lights on. But I'm going to go to bed because I'm fucking tired. It's 12:40 in the morning. My parents are probably going to start yelling in the next 5 minutes. So there's that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I said that 4 times. Like and subscribe to the video. Go follow me on Spotify. Go follow me on all social media platforms. Got my new TikTok at Essential Question Pod. Go follow me there. You know what to do, baby, for all new clips of the podcast. And new podcast interviews coming soon, guys. So just get ready. This is going to be fun. It's going to be a lit ass time. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weeks because I feel like this is going to come out on Monday. So weeks and have fun and don't party too hard. All right. Peace, y'all.